Welcome back to the Filipino FM channel, your home for Filipino Football Manager content. Today, we are doing another Football Manager 2023 experiment, and we're going to try and find out which attribute within the game affects current ability the most. And essentially what we're going to do is using the in-game editor, we are going to start editing the player. And currently, we're using the average player for this with all of their attributes set to 10. And what we're going to do is we're going to change each of the attributes to either a 1 or a 20. And we're going to look at the change in recommended current ability. And we're going to see how much it improves by going to 20 or how much it gets worse by going down to 1. And essentially, we're going to try to see two things here. One, which attributes, when improved, help improve current ability the most? And two, which attributes, when they get worse, lessen current ability the most, if that makes sense. And the hope here is that this is going to give us some insight into which attributes, when they're really high, are going to work really well in the match engine, but also which attributes we can't live without. Because I think some attributes, and I'm going to use jumping reach as an example here. A player with really high jumping reach, I think that's going to improve current ability a lot because having high jumping reach is going to work really well within the match engine. However, when we lower that jumping reach to 1, I don't think it's going to have a huge effect on current ability because there are plenty of players and plenty of positions that don't need to have high jumping reach but still perform well. So it might not necessarily be an attribute that when it's 1 hugely hurts the player. However, when it's 20, it might hugely benefit the player. On the flip side, if we have an attribute like pace, I think it will have a big effect on current ability both when it's 20 and when it's 1. But we're going to go through all of the attributes right now so we can see which attributes have the biggest effect on current ability. The last thing I want to mention is I have given our average player 20s for all of their positions. So they are a natural in every position. So we can see that here with the editor, but also here with their positions on screen. And the reason I've done that is because current ability is affected by position. So depending on the makeup of attributes, their current ability is going to be reflected in their position. So finishing won't hugely improve current ability for a defender, but it will for a striker and other things like that. So I've decided to make them a natural in all positions so that every single attribute will affect current ability as it should for that position. So with that, let's get going, shall we? As far as hypotheses are concerned, I'm going to assume, and based on our previous videos, I think the physical attributes are going to be the most effective on current ability. Specifically, I think pace and strength are going to have the biggest effect on current ability. As far as attributes that I don't think will affect current ability, I don't expect many of the mental attributes to affect current ability. So attributes like determination and probably leadership are the attributes that I really don't expect to affect current ability. Before we go any further, I also want to note the reason I'm starting at a 10 and moving up to 20 and down to 1 is that a change of an attribute of 10, I think, will give us the most power to see differences as far as how it's affecting current ability, as opposed to as if we just went from 10 to 11 or 10 to 9. I think by having a wider range, we're going to have more power to see some of these differences between the attributes. But with that, let's start with the technical attributes. So let's bring corners up to 20 and see if that has any effect on the recommended current ability. And it increased it by 3 to 134. When we go to crossing, that increases it to 143. Wow, crossing actually has a pretty big effect on current ability. Dribbling has a pretty big effect on current ability. We're seeing a change in 10 here up to 141. Wow, finishing with a huge increase up to 148. That's a pretty big change. I think that's the biggest we've seen yet. First touch with a really big increase up to 145 when changed to 20. Free kick taking not having much of an increase, only going up to 134. Heading moving up to 144, so a decent increase there. Long shots moving up to 140. Long throws only going up to 134, not a huge surprise there. Marking moving all the way up to 145, about a 14-point increase. Another big increase with passing. Penalty taking moving up 3 current ability to 134. That's actually a little bit more than I was expecting. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think penalty taking was going to change current ability at all. Tackling with a really big increase up to 146. That's a 15-point increase. Technique also with a big 14-point increase. So those are all of the technical variables. Let's move over to the mental variables now. So aggression didn't change the current ability at all. Well, that's a little bit of a surprise. I would have thought it would have affected it just a little bit. You would think that a willingness to get stuck in would be a huge advantage. So aggression didn't change current ability at all. Just to make sure that's not a bug, I'm going to change anticipation real quick. And anticipation went up 10. So aggression has no effect on current. I'm just curious to see already if it goes down to 1. Aggression has absolutely no effect on current ability. That is an interesting finding I wasn't expecting. But again, when we go to anticipation, it increased by 10. What? No, okay. That's probably the first big surprising finding I think that we have seen here. Let's move into bravery. So when we change bravery to 20, that goes all the way up to 134, just a 3-point increase. If we go to composure, 144 increase, so a decent increase when we go to composure. If we increase concentration to 20, a +6 to 137. Decisions has had, I believe, the biggest increase so far. When we've moved decisions to 20, a 20-point increase in current ability to 151. So it seems like decision, just the overall ability to make the correct choice on the field, has the biggest impact so far on a player's current ability. No surprise with determination, increasing it to 20 has no effect on current ability, and decreasing it to 1 also has no effect on current ability. The next big surprising finding, flair, has no effect on current ability. So the ability to do something creative and unpredictable had no effect on current ability, either positively or negatively. I'm changing it multiple times here so that you guys can see. Flair, 0 effect on current ability. Interestingly, leadership improved current ability. I'm not sure why leadership is better than aggression or flair in the match engine, but apparently leadership gives a slight improvement. Off the ball with a big improvement in current ability. I'm going to assume that positioning will have a similar improvement in current ability. Yep. Teamwork with a nice 6-point improvement in current ability. Let's see if vision has a similar improvement. Vision with a huge improvement. That's interesting. And finally, work rate. I am expecting work rate to have a pretty big improvement. Only a 9-point improvement. I would have thought work rate might be even more important than vision. But those are all the mental attributes. Now let's move into the physical attributes. So starting off with acceleration, when we change that to 20, that is the biggest change we've seen. A 25-point increase in current ability with improved acceleration. So acceleration is one to watch out for in the match engine, I think. As far as agility concerned, another big improvement in agility. I am expecting pretty much all of the physical attributes to have a big effect on current ability, so I wouldn't say any of this is a surprise. When we change balance to 20, a little bit of an increase in current ability there. If we change jumping reach to 20, I think this should have a big one. Only 10 points. I mean, that's still a big increase, but not as big as I was maybe expecting. I wouldn't be surprised to see natural fitness have no effect on current ability. It doesn't. If we change it to 1, it doesn't. No surprise there. It's not really going to have an effect in the match engine. It's more of going to have an effect as if we read the natural fitness thing, how well a player stays fit when injured or not in training. That isn't a direct reflection of how they'll do in the match engine, which may explain why it's not affecting current ability that much. Pace, I'm expecting to have a huge impact. Sure enough, it does. 23-point difference in current ability. No surprise there. And if we move towards stamina with a really nice increase in current ability. So unsurprisingly, all of our physical attributes having a big effect. Let's finally go to strength. I'm expecting a big jump with strength as well. 144. I was expecting it to be more towards the acceleration and pace, so that's interesting. If you've all watched Zealand's video, and the reason that I'm saying that I thought strength would have more is if you all have watched Zealand's video from maybe FM 22, he did a video which you should absolutely go watch it if this is something you're interested in, where he looked at all the individual attributes and he found that strength performed best in the match engine, with players with highest strength doing better than the other players. So this is interesting that when it improved to 20, it wasn't as much as pace and acceleration, because that was the one that I was expecting to have the biggest increase. So as I'm sitting here now, I'm recognizing that this is kind of a boring video if you're just kind of watching me click through. So what I'm going to do is change all of the attributes to 1, look at the differences in current ability, and then I will synthesize all of our results into a spreadsheet here, and I will put the spreadsheet up on screen so that you all can see the final results. I'll do this really quickly and see you in one cut forward. And here is that cut forward. So here is the synthesis of all of our results. So to explain the spreadsheet a little bit, here we have all of our technical attributes, here we have all of our mental attributes, and here we have all of our physical attributes. This is the player's current ability when those attributes were 10. So starting off, each of those current abilities was 131. These are the current abilities when I changed that one attribute to 20 for each of the abilities there. And finally, here are the current abilities when I change that attribute to a 1. So we can see the deficit in current abilities with those. And I also calculated the change between those attributes. So these are the positive changes when the attributes were changed to 20. And here are the negative changes when those attributes were changed to 1. Finally, I did a little bit of color coding. So in attributes that changed when they went up to 20, that improved current ability by 15 current ability points or more, I have those highlighted in green here. And then in attributes that, when changed to 1, led to a lowering in current ability by 10 or more, I highlighted those changes in red here. And finally, attributes that had those big improvements and those big deficits, I highlighted those attributes in yellow. So real quick, I'm not going to go through every attribute, but I did want to talk about some of the findings that I thought were surprising. First, aggression, determination, flair, and natural fitness did not change current ability in any way whatsoever. So when I changed aggression to 1, it had no change in current ability. And when I changed aggression to 20, it also had no change in current ability. And this was true for determination, flair, and natural fitness. Now, natural fitness didn't surprise me, because natural fitness doesn't affect anything within the match engine. Same thing with determination. I think we've seen in a lot of other videos that you may have watched that determination doesn't really affect anything within the match. However, flair and aggression were really big surprises to me to not affect current ability. Because aggression, which is that tendency to get stuck in, and then flair, which is that tendency to be able to do something creative and unpredictable. These are two attributes that I would have expected improvements to lead to improvements in the player. A forward-thinking player with high flair and a defensive player with high aggression, I figured would have a huge improvement in current ability, or maybe not a huge improvement, but would have improved current ability at least a little bit. So seeing that aggression and flair didn't affect current ability at all was a really big surprise. Another big surprise for me was how important decisions was in the game. Considering that a lot of the mental attributes don't seem to be really as important as some of the attributes, To see decisions have such a big impact, a 10-point improvement in decisions had the biggest impact in the game in the current ability, other than acceleration and pace. And that huge deficit was the biggest of the non-physical attributes. So decisions, the ability to do the right thing, both away from the ball and on the ball, has a huge effect on current ability. In fact, it's the most important non-physical attribute according to current ability. The other really important attribute was first touch, with huge gains in first touch leading to huge gains in current ability, and a bad first touch affecting current ability negatively in a big way. So I don't think that's a huge surprise. I think passing and first touch were the technical attributes that I was expecting to have a big impact on current ability, so this finding wasn't hugely surprising to me. And unsurprisingly, our physical attributes had a big impact on current ability, acceleration, agility, pace, and stamina all having huge influences. The only surprise for me was that strength didn't have as big of an effect on current ability as I was expecting. As I mentioned earlier, if you've seen Zealand's video, strength was a really important attribute. So I was expecting strength to have a bigger improvement in current ability, and same with a less, when it's lowered, to have a bigger change there. I was surprised that it didn't affect current ability as much as it did. Maybe this is a change in Football Manager 2023. I think that other YouTubers or myself will need to do more tests to see maybe how strength is influencing the game. But as far as current ability is concerned, pace, stamina, acceleration, agility are kind of the big four for the physical attributes. So I think the big takeaways here are probably threefold. First, looking at the green attributes, if you see players with big green attributes, with high ratings in these green attributes here, I think you can be confident that this is improving their current ability a lot. So maybe for players in these positions, if we're focusing on current ability, this is something you might want to focus on in training, or if you're scouting players and you see that they have high attributes close to 20 in the ones that are highlighted in green here, you can be confident knowing that those attributes are improving their current ability by a lot. On the flip side, the attributes with the red here, if you see that they're low in players, I think maybe this might even be a sign to stay away from those players if you're scouting them. Or if you have a player and they have low first touch or technique or decisions, pace, stamina, agility, acceleration, etc., that these are really important attributes to focus on with individual training. Finally, I think it's important to consider the attributes highlighted in yellow, so first touch, decisions, acceleration, agility, pace, stamina. If you see players with either really high or really low attributes here, I think you know that these are really important attributes and might help with how you're appraising players as far as scouting and your own players are concerned. So overall, this is how each attribute affects current ability. Obviously, there's way too much here to go into in just one video, but please, this information is for you all. So screenshot this, feel free to screenshot this, take it, share it with others. This is your data to use as well. And do with this what you will. Obviously, I'm kind of waffling on here. And I do think this is going to change how I appraise players in future saves and things like that. But please use this for your own benefit as well. Screenshot this, take it, look at the information, synthesize it for yourself, and hopefully this will be helpful for you all as far as appraising players in scouting or appraising your own players, or even looking at training and figuring out where you might want to focus your training. And the last thing here is, of course, is these are for outfield players, and we did this for kind of every position. We didn't do this for goalkeepers, so if you all enjoy this video and find this helpful, maybe we'll do this with goalkeepers and just the goalkeeping attributes in the future, and we can see which attributes affect current ability the most for goalkeepers. So again, if you find this helpful, please screenshot it and use this information as best as you can so that you can be successful in your Football Manager saves. But with that, thank you for watching this video. I really hope that you found this helpful. I found this to be really interesting, and I really enjoyed making this video. So again, if you found this helpful, screenshot this and do whatever you would like with the information. But thank you again for watching this video, and I hope that you all are having a wonderful week, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.